obviously, I am Shanice. If you are new to this channel, I am a baby adult. I'm in college and I basically make videos like vlogs and story times. So if that interests you, please don't be shy. Hit the subscribe button, press to get notifications, and we will continue. So for today, this vlog is just going to be me sharing about my personal experiences being a baby adult, as I always say. So I'm going to be basically talking about 5 things I wish my parents talked to me about before I guess turned 18 or went off to be on my own. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. So, I just want to say, like, this isn't really me, like, criticizing my parents for, like, the way I was raised or anything like that. It's just the fact that every year I get older, then I get exposed to more things and have my own experiences, and it kind of makes me think, like, I really wish I didn't, or that I did have certain conversations with my parents at times, you know, see their insight, and just be able to learn from them. So number 5 on my list, just to get started, is living on my own. So if you don't know, I went to school in the Metro Atlanta area, but I go to college in Miami, Florida. So there weren't a lot of people in my high school that went to school out of state. There's a lot of schools in Georgia, so most people stayed home, especially with like different scholarship programs and things like that. However, I had the opportunity to go out of state on scholarship, so I took that chance. But it wasn't what I thought it'd be. Like, it was, but it wasn't. I always knew I didn't really want to stay in Georgia. Once I was around college age, I just didn't really know what to expect, I would say. I was on my own. I didn't really have any friends down there. I didn't have the social skills I thought I had to be able to connect with people and have friends and make friends. So it was just my freshman year was rather difficult for me, just because like I had the basic training skills to like function and take care of myself. You know, I can cook. We had the cafeteria on campus. We had the I can know how to do laundry. I can clean dishes and clean the bathroom and things like that. So it wasn't necessarily home training. I think more of just the new emotional environment of just like, hey, you know, your parents aren't there, your grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, like, you know, everyone you're used to being only a phone call or even just a 30-40 minute drive away isn't there. You pretty much have to go on a plane or drive 13 hours now. So that was rather new to me. So I think that was rather difficult because it was just like, maybe if my parents, because, you know, they moved out at different ages and then they were living on my own, so I wish they were able to just share like, hey, you know, when I moved out, this is what I did, this is how I felt, you know. So it's kind of like a baby topic, but it was just something I struggled with my freshman year of college. So I was just like, ah, jeez. But, you know, I'm doing better. I ask for things. I can always call them, so that's really important. The fact that I'm like, I'm stressed out. Something crazy happened today. Let me just go call my mom or call my dad and rant about it. So that's always nice. Number 4, this is something that I know like a lot of people feel that they wish they had this conversation with their parents with, and that is money. Money, 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 from credit cards, loans, getting apartments and things like that. I just don't know much about my money management skills. I know I'm cheap. I know I'm always looking for coupons and things like that. I don't spend a lot of money on clothing items and stuff like that, but spend a lot of money on food because, of course, I like to eat. But I didn't really understand the concept of credit. One of my issues I had, like I was saying when I was starting college, was the fact that my school has a scholarship cap. So even if you are someone like me who might be in a financial position where they think, oh, well, this person should be able to afford this amount of money for the school year, but you can't, then that was a situation where I had to figure out like, hey, you know, let's apply for student loans. But then I had to learn about co-signers and the fact that if you keep applying for student loans, that's going to look bad on your credit, which is stupid, but it happened. So that was an experience that I had to go through with learning about credits. So now what I do is, for anyone who has student loans out there, you don't have to pay off the principal balance, but I do recommend paying off the interest that you accrue over time. So with me, I always look at my student loan account for about every 3 to 4 months, or just whenever I remember. I'm like, I haven't paid my interest in a while. I'll log in, see how much I have, and then I'll pay it off. So if it's like $300, I'll immediately pay off the $300. So that's just the easier way to manage my loans. But we just, in terms of my parents, never really just talked about managing money. You know, what's a good way to save, what's a good way to spend, what you should avoid, and things like that. Like, I still don't have a credit card just because I just don't feel like I need one, but credit has been something that's like really important, and we're kind of both, all three of us are on this journey to like understand together now, because we're looking for a home. So it's just like, don't do this for your credit, don't do that. So they're kind of sharing their experiences, like, hey, eviction, screw your credit, it won't go away for like 7 years. So it's a balance of things, but you know, money management, financial skills is something that we're more learning together rather than was something that we talked about as I am getting older and things like that. And for number 3, racism. So like, for me growing up, I was kind of always aware of the fact that like racism and the color of my skin played a role in the way that people might have interpreted me. And just my presentation of myself and things we associate. Like when I started locking my hair, my mom was kind of like, hey, you know, you might not want to do that because that could jeopardize your chance of getting a job. And I was just like, look, man, I don't like doing my hair. I barely want to keep this up, so I feel like this style works for me. And obviously it has, but I think racism is such a difficult topic to speak about, even in the Black community, because we know we're impacted by it, but we don't want to, you know, have to deal with the negativities of the fact that, you know, people are just not gonna like you or feel like you should do certain things based on the color of your skin. So when I was 12, that was when the Trayvon Martin trials, I believe, the trials were happening. So I was just, that's kind of what opened up my eye. And then, you know, as the years passed on, you know, I grew up with a lot of police shootings, and even now with this past summer, we've had all the people that have been killed by the police, like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, who, you know, hasn't had the cops arrested yet. But me and my parents never really talked about racism. Like, we had open discussions in terms where I would share my thoughts about what was going on, but it was never like a shared conversation. Like, over the summer, or just like a couple weeks ago, I was riding with my dad, and he was like, yeah, this happened to me by the cops, and I was pretty scared, and I'm like, yo, this is wild. And I'm like, whoa, that is wild. Like, I can't believe you had that happen to you. I didn't know. So it's just a lot it's a very heavy topic to discuss, and that we should talk about, because, you know, racism impacts us whether we like it or not. So I think these conversations are important to have, you know, when it talks about how to interact with the cops, you know, what to do if you're in a government building, what to do, you know, just even walking down the street, because someone just might yell something at you. And it's kind of a difficult thing to balance. Like, for me, when I was growing up, I grew up in like relatively like diverse communities. So, and then even some of the schools I went to were like predominantly Black schools. So it was like something we were aware of, but it wasn't such an issue where it was like right in front of our face. You know, you couldn't really have like a teacher say something inappropriate to a Black student because there's so many Black students around, and then, you know, they're obviously going to cause it or make it a problem because this is of something that wasn't said. So that wasn't necessarily something that I had to deal with, but I think more and more now, especially as the second wave of the Black Lives Matter movement, or just not second, but another wave is coming around, and like we're able to start having more conversations in our community about our own experiences and what we feel should be the next steps going forward. So there's that. And number 2 on my list is mental health, the most complicated, complex conversation you may or may not ever have with your parents. Well, back again to my freshman year of college. Like I said, my mental health sucked. I was like up and down. I felt okay, but then I was like, I didn't feel like I needed to always have so many friends around me, but it was just very difficult and weird to be away from my family. And I did not know how to deal with that. And I would just, I would make comments with my parents like, I'm not feeling great, I'm not feeling sad, or I'm feeling sad, but we just, they didn't, I don't think they knew how to take it, or personally. Like, I think what was rather difficult for that particular situation was the fact that, my parents didn't, my mom went to college for a semester after she graduated, but didn't go back. And I don't believe my dad went to college after he finished school. So I think I was in such a unique position for my family that it was like, okay, Denise went to school right after college, out of high school, but she's so far away. She doesn't have her friends, and there's just a lot of these mixed emotions that are popping up. And what do we really do? And it wasn't, I believe, I would just say, like, I was depressed. I didn't feel good. I was just go to school, go to my classes, go to my labs, go to my work study, and then there would just be days when I'm like laying in bed and I'm just upset because I just had so many emotions that I did not understand how to deal with. And I didn't feel like I had someone I could always talk to. My roommate was helpful and she was nice, and she got, like, the days when I didn't really want to be friendly, but it's hard because, your parents, especially for me, my parents are someone who I can openly talk with and have a conversation with. But, it's always hard when it's someone you're close with emotionally and try to share some hardships that you're going through. And you don't necessarily get the immediate or the feedback that you want. So I had to go to counseling. So I went to counseling from the counseling services provided by my school. And I talked to my mom about it. I was very open. I didn't lie about when I had appointments. And I think kind of me being open to that was kind of the first kind of moment when my mom was like, okay, well, there's obviously something going on that makes Janice feel like she needs to talk to someone. So maybe we'll just listen. And and I think that is kind of like the thing I've always tell people is like, your first step is kind of taking that chance to be open about your emotions and the way you're feeling and your anxiety and just different things like that. Like, my mom knows, like, I don't like being in very crowded, unorganized places. Like the first time, well, not first time, but when this pandemic was really starting and we went to Walmart because we had to get groceries, it was just so many people and it was so crowded. And, some people are wearing masks and some people aren't social distancing. And then it's just like all this commotion and it was just like, oh my goodness, I didn't need to go. And my mom got that, like sometimes, like I appreciate that, granted maybe she might want to browse more, but she's like, look, Denise needs to go, so, let's go. But, growing up, we just didn't talk about our mental health and how we're feeling. And, we've been in stressful situations growing up before, but it was just like, we didn't talk about the fact that we were in a stressful situation. Like, it'd be like, oh, dang, this sucks. And it's like, yeah, man, it sure does. But then it's like, well, that's as far as we'll probably go with the acknowledgement of a difficult situation and let's pray about it, which is always a good thing. But, so mental health was just something that was new for me in exploring and acknowledging. Because like I said, I knew I had probably some bouts and moments or long-term moments of depression in high school. But I think when I had the ability to really reflect on it in college, and then when I went to counseling for the first time in college, it really opened up this conversation for my mom to realize that, hey, there's times when Janice feels anxious. There's days when I'll just shut down and I'm like, look, I either eat a lot when I'm depressed or I don't eat at all, or then I sleep all day. So it's just recognizing some of my symptoms, but then also me wanting to check in with my parents when they're going through stressful times, for them to be like, you know what, hey, this actually does suck for us, and this is how we're feeling and things like that. So this has just been, like I said, most of these things like were things I wish we talked about, but at the same time we're starting to. So I think that's kind of the important thing of this whole video is that, hey, there's things your parents might not bring up, but at least we can start the conversation now. And number one on my list of things I wish my parents talked to me about was like being an adult woman, going out into the world and going out and being independent. And now I think it's kind of hard for me to like organize my thoughts on a bit, but for me it was just like, like every girl kind of understands, or most girls understand that, if some grown man tries to like hit on you, you can hit him with that, yo, I'm 16, back up, and hopefully they'll care. And some of them won't, and we'll get to that. But, once you hit 18, there's this new mindset, or this new kind of like a loss of defense for the fact that, you're 18, so you're legally an adult. So some grown man who's 50 can hit on you and can technically pursue you inappropriately, and you don't have any real defense. And that was kind of difficult for me, and it wasn't always necessarily me having some terrible harassing encounter with an individual in public, but I think learning how to look out for yourself, for one, but also understanding the fact that there are just people out in this world that do not care for your safety and your well-being. And I think that's one of the conversations I feel like parents, and especially I wish my parents had with me being a teenager, though. Because, I'd be in high school and I would see girls and classmates that would have like these boyfriends that are like well over any type of somewhat decent age gap, and I was just like, this is weird, but I don't know how to process or understand this, because this was just never something that was brought up in the home. We didn't talk about predators. We didn't talk about, how to understand when a guy's just trying to lure you in with material goods but actually doesn't care about you. This is talking about when a man just wants you for sex but doesn't want anything to do about your well-being and looking out for, yourself as your number one priority, in a sense, for your well-being. So there's always so many things that I've continued to learn and have learned about going out and being a woman in this world. Because I guess one of the more difficult things is the fact that there are individuals who just don't care about your safety and want to use you and harm you. And I don't really always want to let that cloud and have negative thoughts around going on. But I think it's so important that your parents or adults in your life have this open conversation that your safety is always number one, and how to look out and hold other people accountable for their negative actions. So I think that's kind of just the thing that keeps me going. I want to have certain conversations with my siblings, like, hey, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, this is what people may try to do to you, and always be aware of your well-being, because the world can be a dangerous place, but you shouldn't have to be scared, just be prepared. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't be nervous and share some of your own ideas. What are things that you wish your parents or the important adult figure in your life had talked to you about before you became an adult or a college student, or wherever you are in your world. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, please do not be shy. Click the like button. Click subscribe, and I hope you have an enjoyable day and take care of yourself. Bye! Anyway, should have told the pears. I like pears. I eat pears now. I eat pears now. That's gonna be my blooper video in the beginning.